Welcome back in to the High School Spotlight and into our second edition of LHSAA 101. Looking back at our first segment, we looked at how select and non-select came to be back in 2013. And today, we're diving into what happened in 2020 when the schools tried to reunify the playoffs. Today, I'm joined again by LHSAA Executive Director Eddie Bonine. Mr. Bonine, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, my pleasure. Look forward to it.
So we're going to go back from what happened from 2013 into 2020. Why did the schools want to come back together, and what happened when that proposal to reunify was introduced?
Well, at the time, we were able to actually get enough votes on the floor of the convention, the annual convention we have every year, to pass it. And at that point, we did have a simple majority, but the initial in 2013 wasn't necessary in that regard, meaning now we're in a position where we have to have at least 66% or 2/3 of the membership to pass something of that magnitude. And I think that was the gist of the fact that when we passed it initially in 2013, it just took a simple majority to do so. And when we dove into the data, we found that actually we had schools that didn't have football programs that were voting on the issue. So we felt it was important that if you don't have a particular sport, in this case football, or whether it be volleyball or tennis or whatever the sport might have, that maybe you shouldn't be voting on that particular proposal. That passed in regards to now if you don't have the sport, you can't vote on it. But also in that transition, it would take 66% in that proposal to get something passed of this magnitude. So now, we go back to that, what the graphic you just saw, is that in the old rule, we would have had enough to pass it under simple majority. Under the new rule, we came up with just a little bit short. That's why we're where we sit today.
So why does that 2/3 threshold matter, and why is it a touchy subject?
Well, anything we're going to do that has to do with the Constitution, we need to have 2/3 of the membership to vote on it versus just a simple majority. And that would just be basically a simple majority in the room of the day of the vote, not necessarily a simple majority of all the membership. So we felt there's something of that magnitude, specifically when it comes to this, in this regard, this split where we have select, non-select, at that time football. Now we have it obviously in boys and girls basketball, baseball, softball, that it needed to have to have a larger amount of membership to pass it, and that's what we did.
So the 2020 vote reflects both the interest of the member schools and the strength of constitutional safeguards.
That is correct.
Perfect. Well, in 2020, like we just went over, the reunification, they came close, but ultimately it fell short with that 2/3 requirement vote. In our next episode, we'll take a look at where things stand today, the challenges that the current system faces, and what the future might hold for Louisiana high school sports. Thank you so much, Mr. Bonine, for joining me again.
Pleasure.
High School Spotlight. We'll be right back.